Hold on a second. Okay, and we're live. Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Leslie. If you're not familiar with me, I'm a textile designer and surface pattern designer, and this is one of our Ask Me Anything sessions. And so Lindsay reached out to me and wanted to ask me a bunch of questions about my business and kind of my career as a textile and surface pattern designer, and then also share her portfolio. And I'm going to give her my feedback on her portfolio and some other things as well. So, hi, Lindsay. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you?
Okay, I'm Lindsay. I live in Arlington, Texas now. I went to school for textile design, and during the pandemic, kind of backtracked and changed my career back to textile design. I was doing event management and production for a while, and now I am really just trying to grow my art business and learn more about surface pattern design and how that can be implemented in my portfolio. I've been following Lauren since 2020, since the
Oh,
pandemic. She was my first class that I actually took back
oh,
into my career. So I'm really excited to be here.
oh, that's wonderful. Gosh, 2020 just feels like forever ago.
I
It's crazy to
know.
think about. Okay, so I'm gonna present and share my screen so that we have some pretty visuals of Lindsay's questions, and then after that, we'll jump into looking at her portfolio.
Whew.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna present and share my screen. Okay, so you can
Yes.
take over, Lindsay. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. How has your practice changed since starting YouTube?
That's a really good question. I think there have definitely been times where I've struggled with what exactly I want my YouTube channel to be about. And I really started out talking about textile design and how I became a textile designer and this and that. And I think part of that was because it was a little bit of a white space on YouTube. Like it was definitely my career. So I had knowledge about it. And I just didn't see that many videos on YouTube about textile design, right?
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I started making videos about that, and those seem to be what a lot of people are interested in. But I have other interests as well, and I was a fine art major in school, and I'm kind of thinking about having a little bit of a broader art channel these days. Um, but I don't want to lose the textile design subject as well because that's a big part of my career and knowledge. But I do think sometimes, I've created videos that may be more for, an art tutorial or something like that, which wasn't really for my own portfolio, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So
Lauren,
trying
I'm
to
gonna have
teach.
to pause you right there.
Oh,
It's not picking up you with my headphones. So
okay,
here we
that's
go.
fine.
There we go. Okay.
Okay,
I
you can hear me now?
got you now.
Okay, you might okay. There's a little bit of an echo, I think, but
A
okay,
little
we'll
bit of feedback.
we'll try to get through it.
Okay.
Um, hopefully it's not, bothering anyone, but, I don't actually hear it anymore, so we're good. Yeah, so I think sometimes when you're doing YouTube and everything is so public and you're trying to figure out how to get views and how to please the algorithm and things like that, that can really impact the type of art you're making. Um, and so, yeah, I think sometimes I've made art for a video that wasn't necessarily for my portfolio,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. But other than that, the pattern you see is my background here, and that's on the background of your questions. These are my patterns, and these were for my portfolio. And I didn't even necessarily record myself painting these, which is kind of funny. It's I probably should have done that, but I made a video about it. But yeah, I don't know. I think does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, that kind of does. I have been told to start a YouTube channel myself for my artwork,
Mm,
especially
hmm.
since I am at the very beginning of my art career again. I'm kind of I've been reteaching myself how to be a designer, and
Yeah.
there's kind of a blank space on YouTube there because you see people at a point where they're ready to share their artwork. I don't feel ready to share my artwork, but I want people to know that there is a way to get from A to B, and it's rocky and it's weird and it's going to be upsetting sometimes. But yes, no, that definitely answers my question about your art practice changing. It sounds like your art practice didn't change a lot, but it more like integrated into YouTube as
I
a
think that's what I'm trying to do now is like, how do I align like the art I'm making for my portfolio and YouTube a lot more seamlessly, you know,
right.
instead of just doing like tutorials like I don't know what I've done in the past, like tips for acrylic painting in your sketchbook or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, just you know, something that I thought would be like a good video topic. But yeah, I think I'm trying to like integrate and align what I'm doing anyway with
With
the videos that I'm making. I think we just
absolutely.
when you're on YouTube, it's easy to get distracted by, "Oh, this would be like a great video topic," and
Right.
like, "It's gonna rank in search," and like all that stuff, so I'm gonna do it because like I can do that too. But 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 trying to stay consistent and focused on like your brand or whatever, is always a good thing. So,
Absolutely. No,
yeah.
I think it's hard to integrate those 2 things, but once you do, it'll be so much easier to be like, "Here is what I actually do every single day," as opposed to like, "Here's what I think that you guys need to learn because this is my
Right.
niche."
Right.
Mhm. Okay, next question. Do you have a specific part of your business dedicated to art licensing when you're making work?
Yeah, I think the artwork that I'm making for my business is pretty much all with licensing in mind. Um, you know, and then sometimes you know, if it's not like selling, I might put it, that's when I kind of decide to put it on, like a, not really print on demand side. I typically like put it on Pattern Bank. So it's
Mhm.
like more of a, but you can buy it on demand
Right.
kind of thing. So yeah, if it's something that I'm like just ready to get rid of, I'm over it, like I don't feel like it's a strong collection, I might just put it on a site like that. But um I think yeah, I mean the the art making side is all like pretty much with art licensing in mind. If that answers the question.
No, it
But there's
absolutely does.
yeah. But I think you kind of have to have multiple revenue streams as well because art
Mhm.
licensing, unfortunately, I think it used to be more of an easier time to have a full-time salary in art licensing, and now it's more of like a smaller portion of the pie. I mean, it's awesome because it's like passive income, and once you've done the work, it can continue to generate sales, but you just don't always know when that check is coming, and so
Right.
it's a little bit like, it might come this month, it might not. So like, yeah, so having some other like income streams is a good part of the business as well.
I'm so glad you mentioned income streams. Kelsey Rodriguez is another art channel on YouTube, and she kind of, if anybody's interested, she maps out all of these income streams that you can use to
Mhm.
continue to like, so your art still has life and it still has somewhere where it goes and people are still buying it, but it's also just kind of money in your pocket when things aren't as streamlined as you think they should be, or something happens with an art licensing. No, I'm really glad that you mentioned that because I feel like that's something all artists need to consider when they are making work.
Yeah, I just had a coaching call with a girl who I think unfortunately, I really disappointed her 'cause she was like, "But I thought with art licensing, you could keep the royalty and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you can. It's just I'm just letting you know, like, it takes a lot of years to
Mhm.
for most people. Like, it's kind of like making it as an actor in Hollywood, you know? Like, if
Right.
you're a superstar, like, yeah, like, you could be making 6 figures, like, maybe within a year or 2, but that's not like the reality for most people. It's usually more of like a slow burn and it starts to build up over the years.
No, that's
Mhm,
great to mention as well because you don't want
mhm.
to. I don't want anyone to think that, oh, just like make a portfolio and it's going to be licensed immediately and you're going to have all of this.
Yeah,
Yeah, it stinks, but that's part of the business for sure.
yeah, and with licensing also, it's like even if it does get licensed right away, that first of all, that's amazing, but it's still gonna take like 9 months to a year to see those checks because you have to wait for that product to get produced and like put on the shelves and manufactured. So then you're not really making, I mean, sometimes you can get a fee up front, but not always. So
Okay.
it's a while
No,
to
no,
wait.
that's
Yeah.
great to know.
Yeah.
Um, We can go on to the next question. When you are making work for licensing, do you estimate sales projections, or do you just make things specifically for your portfolio, get the pattern collection together, and then see how things go?
Yeah. I've tried to work backwards and say, like, this is how much I wanna be earning each month, and, like, so that means I have to, like, make this many sales or I have to make this much from this revenue stream. But the reality is it has been, like, a little bit of a struggle for me to get that right. I do know, like, with my fabric license, like, what to expect from those sale or, like, I do get a flat fee up front, and then, the royalties kind of fluctuate, but I kind of have been doing that long enough now where I kind of know, roughly what it's gonna be. But other than that, no, like, I don't I don't
No,
know.
that's
I've tried, but it hasn't really been accurate for
I've always been told that you have to estimate your sales projection. I'm like, do I?
Yeah,
No,
I mean, it's a good practice to have for sure. And just so everyone knows, like, I did get an opportunity to go back to a full-time job, so, like, that is, supplementing most of my income right now, but I still do licensing. Like, that was part of the deal was, I went back to a company I had worked for in the past, and
Mhm.
I said, if I come back, I still wanna do licensing, and they were okay with that. So,
Right.
like, that was awesome. But yeah, I had a baby last year, so it was like,
Wait,
we
what?
wanted to move. Yeah, yeah. In June. She's over a year now, but
Did you
mhm.
put that up on anything? Did I miss that?
I'm really
Congratulations.
private about it. I'm, like, scared to put her, online. I don't know, and then, like,
No,
I've
that's
had,
okay. She
like
doesn't have autonomy. She can't say like yes or no, but congratulations. That's amazing.
thank you, yeah, I have, like, a private Instagram account where, like, I post her all the time, but that's, like, just friends and family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kinda kept that a little bit private. I don't know, I think I mentioned it on, like, 1 or 2 of my YouTube videos, but, if you didn't see that exact video, then it's easy to miss. But yeah, and, we wanted to move to, like, a nicer neighborhood and all that, so, like, I
Mhm.
needed to, like, really have a reliable income for that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was just kind of part of the plan, but I still have my business and still am doing licensing, so yeah.
Well, that's wonderful that you can balance everything. Actually, my next question is about balancing admin responsibilities with art making. And now that you have
Mhm.
a baby at home,
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of time. It's like, how was I spending my time before I was a parent? Um, no, but yeah, when I was, working full-time as an artist, I think there was a lot of admin. There's more than people realize. You're doing the accounting, I mean, for me, I was doing a lot of marketing. But it really does depend on you as an individual and like how you want to split that up. I mean, I think everyone, pretty much has to do their taxes. They have to answer emails. They have to do
yeah,
like some amount of admin stuff. But I was also doing YouTube and I decided I wanted to do classes. So that was eating up a lot of my time, like making videos for those things.
mhm.
Um, and so I was still doing art making, but like not nearly as much as I thought I would have been able to.
That
Mhm.
no, that's good to note. For any person out there, I am a marketing coordinator. So it's also about when you're marketing yourself as an artist, you're also thinking about your budget of marketing. You need to be
Mm,
setting aside a little bit of money, even if it's on Instagram. I know they do like for $1 a day, they'll push your content out to like an X amount of people. It's also that's also so much of marketing is having the budget to market yourself and having the time to market yourself. So no, that's great for everybody to know that admin is a huge part of being an artist,
mhm.
and being on
And
YouTube.
that's a really great point because I think a lot of artists feel, kind of crappy if like their stuff isn't, getting tons of likes on Instagram that you don't know. Maybe someone's like boosting their post for like $1 or like there's so much that goes into it.
Right.
Um, yeah, so
Don't feel bad if your stuff isn't getting seen yet. Um,
yeah,
I'm
it's
in that
hard.
boat myself. I want my stuff to get seen, but also I don't have the budget right now, so organic searches are important to me. But no, that's
Yes,
definitely something that you should think about when you're seeing people getting all kinds of accolades and
yeah.
all kinds of eyes on their work, how much money they're actually spending to get those eyes on that work.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason I love YouTube is like that it's a search-based platform. I mean, not all the time, sometimes people are browsing, but I think it's easier. I feel like I get more bang for my buck on YouTube and Pinterest than like Instagram. Like I still try to do Instagram, but it can
It's
feel very defeating.
it's competitive for sure.
Yeah.
So Pinterest is really, really great. They've really upped their marketing, all of their marketing projects up so that people can really get in there and easily organically market their stuff.
Mm.
So artists, if you're thinking about that, Pinterest is a really good idea. Um, it's something you don't think about.
Yeah, everyone thinks of Instagram for whatever reason, but
Yeah. For the next question, I know that you answered this a little bit earlier about do you see all of your artwork as profitable items or do you ever just make art for fun? How much fun are you having when you are making artwork?
Yeah, it's hard to balance that too, but I think now, honestly, like having my full-time job, makes me be able to relax a little bit more because I know that like my bills are getting paid no matter what. And so I don't feel as much pressure for all of my artwork to be like churning that, paying the bills. So
Mhm.
I think lately I've been able to have a lot more fun. I've been doing the Facetober challenge and like it was such a struggle. I couldn't really do any art challenges in the past because I felt like, well, this isn't like, part of my portfolio or I can't license this or whatever. But yeah, I'm doing like the Facetober challenge and that's been really fun working in my sketchbook more and like I mean it does feel really creative and sometimes I do feel like I should be like getting back to like making patterns. But but I mean it all relates to each other, so it's good to
Okay.
do.
Okay. Right on. Um, and then how did you learn to tell your story to other artists? She has an amazing video out on her channel about how she got into pattern licensing and her life thus far. But how did you learn to tell that story? Because I feel like that's a skill that artists need.
Oh, that's so nice for you to say. I don't know, I feel like I was making I mean, it's funny, like, that you, like, were following me in 2020 because I feel like my videos are just terrible.
No,
Um,
they're not. They're not as terrible as you think they are.
I don't know, I think I made just a PowerPoint, and that was just, like, step by step, like, "This is how I became a textile designer." I don't know how I did it. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like I was really bad at it first, and then, like, when you tell the same story over and over again, it gets easier.
Mhm.
So, I feel like now I can kinda tell it in a more natural way, but, um, yeah, I don't know, I think also, like, maybe it's just my age, but when I was in college, I was a fine art major, and and I and my family spent all this money to go to college, like, student loans, just all the ridiculous amounts, um, and I didn't even know what art licensing was. I didn't know what surface pattern design was. I didn't know what textile design was.
Okay,
I
let's
didn't know
talk
how
about
to get
that
an
for a
agent.
minute because
Yeah,
I was a fine art major as well. I went to a school that had textile design offered, and
okay.
my best friend and I, we talk all the time about everything that we missed: art licensing,
Yeah,
pattern design. My specialty actually is in weaving and dyeing,
okay.
which is an antiquated skill. I love it. I find it fantastic, but it's not a skill that a
Yeah,
lot of people have and that you can just get a job in almost
because
immediate.
we're not manufacturing in the US, so it's like, unless you're, like, in the manufacturing house somewhere else, like, we're not looking for, like, a dye master, or, like, a
Right,
weaver. It is good to know those skills. Okay, because in my textile design job, I come at it from, I can draw, like, that's, like,
right.
my perspective, and I've learned all the other stuff on the job, as I've been doing this for over a decade now, but yeah, like when I first got hired in my very first textile design job, I knew nothing about yarn. I didn't know anything about fiber content. I didn't know anything about constructions. And it was easy enough to learn. And I was at a rug company and they were pretty like relaxed about teaching me that stuff because even if you did have a textile design degree, you still like had to learn about rugs. Like it wasn't like rug design was its own major. So they were pretty cool about, teaching us all that stuff. So I kind of learned on the job. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous what you spend on art school and like what they don't teach you. It's just
Oh,
ridiculous.
goodness gracious. It
Yeah.
absolutely is.
Nothing practical they teach you, except
Nothing
maybe like
practical at
color.
all. Um, for the next question, oh my. For some reason, my Adobe just popped up for no reason. Um, what does your creative process look like when you are doing new licensing designs? Take us from sketch and ideation.
Yeah, so I always look up inspirations. I like to look at everything from, looking up stuff on Pinterest. I like to look at, I don't know, just I will look at a lot of other artists, not just one, because you don't want to copy or like rip off someone's style. But I look at a lot of different artists on Pinterest and Instagram. I look at art books. I look at, and then I kind of try to figure out like, okay, what's my trend or at least theme. So like what you're seeing here, like on these questions and the design behind me is like my woodland creatures, and
Mhm.
it's like kind of an autumnal theme, right? So it's a very like fall oriented. You're seeing a lot of leaves. The colors that I'm using are like happy and everything, but you're seeing the browns and some of the kind of more autumnal colors. And so I think about what's the overall like feel, and then I try to stick to like a really tight color palette. Um, and so, yeah, I like build out my color palette, and from there I haven't always done this, but I've really been into doing more hand painting stuff. And when I first got my job as like first in graphic design and then in textile design, I was creating everything in Illustrator. And
Right.
that's, part of how you have to work as a graphic designer. And then for textile design, they didn't really care if we used Illustrator or Photoshop, but like they weren't really keen on us spending a lot, the time to like hand paint things.
Right.
um, and we didn't really need to. So, but for my own stuff, I like to, kind of slow down a little bit, do more hand painted elements. So I'm hand painting a lot of these actually in my sketchbook, and I like to use gouache. So I'm either using like acrylic gouache or regular gouache, but for these I used acrylic gouache. And from there, I'm scanning it in and putting it in Photoshop and then arranging a pattern out of it. Um, yeah, so that's kind of how I go about my process. And I'll like index the file and like make sure that I'm like matching everything like with Pantones. So like I do that in the program and like make sure that everything's like really using the same color so that from design to design, if the scan is a little bit different, I'm like forcing it to have like the same Pantone colors and things like that in Photoshop.
Okay.
Um,
No,
yeah, and then I
I'm glad you mentioned the tight color palette and
mhm.
also trend research. If you didn't know, Lauren has a trend research, does a huge trend thing every single year. It's awesome. And I bought it a couple times and it's really helped me.
Oh, good.
I'm
Yeah, I haven't been able
I
to do it this year because there's too much going on, but yeah, I have my old one if anyone is interested in that one. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing your process with us.
of course.
Do you have a different process for your professional work? What does your creative process look for that? Is it the same
Sorry, for which work?
for your
Personal work?
sorry, not professional work, your personal work?
So when you say personal work, what work are you referring to? I'm not quite
So
sure.
any work that you don't necessarily have to license when you are creating art for yourself, if you have time to do so,
Yeah, okay,
creative
yeah.
process any different or is it quite similar?
Sometimes I do allow myself to play a lot more if it's just personal work and I'm not gonna really show it. So, for example, like sometimes, once a month or so, I've started going to life drawing classes again. Um, so it's kind of like, like I took life drawing courses in college. So that's kind of like tapping back into the fine art side. But I've noticed like sometimes people in the class have come up to me and been like, oh, it's kind of illustration-y, which is funny because it's like I used to be an oil painter, And so from working on the design and commercial side of things for so long, I think even now when I go to a life drawing class, other people see that it's like a little bit more like commercial or like designy or illustration-y. But I am using, I'll use whatever I feel like. I kind of like really play with art supplies when I'm doing those kind of classes. So I've been using a lot more watercolor. Um, I mean, I can't do oils like in a life drawing class because it would just like go everywhere and be too messy. But I try to paint with like either watercolor, or gouache. Sometimes I'll even use Posca pens. Sometimes I've started to like dabble in like some colored pencil or Derwent drawing pencils, things like that. So yeah, and sometimes I'll do pen and ink. Like I kind of like let myself play with that because it's just for fun.
No, I love that. That's when I saw your work when you started doing the live drawing classes, I loved that you brought your own materials in and were just like, I'm gonna do what something that's true to me as opposed to
Mhm.
doing what everybody else is doing, which is probably working in charcoal. So that's good to know that you can bring those supplies to that class and do something that's true to you and that's
Mhm.
more that more talks to your current work, which
It's
is
funny, yeah, some of the other students, they do bring, like, different supplies, but it is a little bit more traditional usually, like, there are definitely, like, the charcoal artists, there's a lady that uses pastels. Sometimes people will paint there was a guy just who just brought his iPad one time, and he was more, like, commercial, like, illustration-y,
okay.
but, um but, yeah, a lot of the people in there are trying to do more, like, realism and stuff, so
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Mhm.
Note back to when we were talking about school, we did not have Procreate when we were
Yeah.
in school.
Yeah, definitely not.
I just wanted to point that out.
We
Procreate
didn't have
has
so
ruined
many things.
our
I didn't even have Pinterest, so it's like
I got Pinterest in college and was in love with it.
yeah,
Um,
that's
but
awesome.
Procreate is amazing. I just started using it and it's been so much fun. Um,
Mhm.
we're going to skip question 9 since you already kind of answered that.
Okay.
Your other income streams while you're, if you're ready to share. And then
Mhm.
number 10, um, when do you know when your artwork is ready to share? This is my problem right now.
Aw, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's such a great question because, like, I mean, I was, like, making art in the dinosaur days when, like, you didn't really do that. So, like, I don't know. I mean, I do remember, like, in college, I had all my oil paintings, I had my senior show, and I did make, like, a Facebook album, and I, like, put them on, and, like, I swear the files are, like, so tiny, like, it's embarrassing. I'm like, and, like, we were taught that at the time, like, this is the right file
Mhm.
size for your portfolio, and I'm like, "You can't even see it," like, but those were what the digital cameras were in the day, so, yeah, I'm like, I probably should, like, get them re-photographed or something if I still have the work, but, yeah, no, I mean, I did do that, but it wasn't like I was posting it regularly or anything like how we do today.
Mhm.
And I think I didn't post stuff for a very long time. Like when I started working in graphic design and then my first job in textile design, I didn't really post anything. I think I did post a couple things on Pinterest, like I'm talking like 2010, 2011,
Mhm.
and they did go viral. And I was like trying to sell tea towels and stuff on Etsy. So, like, that was like my side hustle business kind of thing that I was doing at a time, and they did kind of go viral on Pinterest, but then I wasn't getting a lot of sales. So for me, it like didn't connect where I was like, "Oh, I need to keep doing this," because I was like, "Well, everyone's repinning it, but like they're not really buying my tea
Yeah,
towel." So I
not
was like, "What's the
converting.
point?" um, I don't know. And then like I was even on Tumblr for a while, and I started like posting stuff there, and like
Oh, Tumblr
I
days.
don't yeah, and, like, that kinda stuff got pinned a lot, but I think it was just, like, literally the internet was just starving for anything, and so I just don't think my work was even that good, but it was just, like, if you put something up there and it was halfway decent, like, people went bananas. Now it's obviously a lot harder to, get your stuff seen, which is frustrating, but, yeah, I mean, it was just the good old days of the internet back then, but I just shared stuff that I was, like, selling on Etsy. I look back and, like, some of I did invitations on Etsy for a little while, they were terrible, people bought them though, like, I mean, it wasn't enough for me to, like, make, earn a full-time income from, but it was, like, a good little, like, bonus every month. Um, yeah, and I don't know, I think when I realized that artists and businesses were utilizing Instagram to really share their work, I, like, started doing it here or there, and
Mhm.
then when I went full-time, in 2019 on my own business, I started trying to share a lot more, and I actually had more work to share because I was actually, like, making my own portfolio and building it up, and I was going
Right.
to a trade show and all that, so, I really wanted my work to get seen at that point in time. But it is a grind. I mean, I was using later, I was trying to schedule posts,
Yeah.
um, and I'm appreciative for every follower that I have, but I don't even know how many of my followers even see my stuff because I'll post something and it gets like maybe 100 likes.
Mhm.
So it's
No, I
hard. I don't, yeah,
I know what you mean when it's like sometimes you're just like, "Here you go. I hope you like it. Someone please see it." And I'm kind of in that boat right now, as that this is the first time I'm doing an art challenge. I've
cool.
thought about doing Inktober for years, never did it, finally did it, and this is the first time I'm posting consistently. Um,
Good.
but I still don't feel like it's like perfect enough or ready enough or my skills aren't advanced enough. How do you deal with those feelings of just not being ready, feeling inadequate? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, all of those.
I feel exactly the same way with doing my Facetober challenge, like, right now, like, I feel like, "Oh, like, I'm so out of practice with drawing people, like, this is terrible," and for a challenge like that, it's hard because if you're gonna do each one and, like, don't miss a day, like, you can't do it perfect, like, you
Right.
just can't, and so I'm like, this definitely needs more work," like, if I was gonna make a finished piece, but, like, I don't know, I think what's great about a challenge, though, is you're learning. I don't know, it's more quantity over quality in that
Right.
case, which is, like, not usually what you are putting out into the world. But for a challenge, yeah, you gotta whip it all out, and I think part of the skill that you're learning is how to be faster, and, like, it does get easier, like, with my Facetober challenge, like, I was able to do 2 faces last night because I missed a day and I still haven't posted it yet, but, I think it's just practicing and kind of yeah, like the idea that this is kind of why I like TikTok, even though I don't really post on TikTok, but it's like, I don't know, Instagram kind of has this culture where everything has to be like perfectly curated and like you're looking at a museum gallery, level. But I feel like
It's like,
TikTok
"Can I just
is
show
more
up with my
casual.
paintbrush?" Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
you're
you wanna
good.
you wanna just show up and you wanna say, "Here's my work. Um, Here's my work. I hope you like it. If you don't, cool, goodbye." But at the same time, it's like, you still want those numbers. You still wanna compete.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, maybe it's, like, the difference between what you share in your feed, because that's, like, the page that people are gonna see forever, like, if they click over to your profile and it's cool now that you can pin post, so, like, I have a few things that performed a little bit better, so I can, like, pin those to the top, but maybe you just share in your stories if you feel like, you're, like, not sure,
Yeah.
if you should post it or not, or, like, I don't know, and or I mean, I did, like, for a while, I was using later, like, I've really slacked off with that, but I did, like, plan the grid where it was like, "Okay, this is all this is all my woodland creatures collection," so, like, the color palette's consistent, so it actually does look good side by side
Mhm.
on the Instagram grid, so,
Mhm.
um, but it takes a while because it's like you have to create the whole collection and then plan out where it goes, and then so you're, like, kind of posting more older work,
Okay.
and then, so it's not like I've made this today. Like that's kind of
Right.
like the difference I think between maybe what Instagram used to be like 2012 kind of days where people did kind of just share their process. And I think a lot of people got a lot of followers that way back in the day because again, it was just like there wasn't that much content on there. So people were like, cool
Mhm.
art. But now it's so saturated that it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, honestly. I don't. But um I don't
I
know.
think
I think if you
starting
have enough pieces, you could plan it out in like an app like later and see like if it looks good together.
Right, and I
Um,
think starting with a challenge, I know for me, I started this challenge on Inktober. I'm actually doing Peachtober, by
yeah,
Shawn
cool.
Mendes. Um, but I think for me, when I started with a challenge, not only it forced me to create faster, I decided to choose a new medium. So I chose Procreate because I didn't know that much about it. And I saw
Mm,
that growth, which made me feel a lot better about my artwork. And now I
yeah,
feel like, well, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. There's an audience for everyone.
yeah,
Um, so I think that that has helped a lot. And I'm glad that you mentioned later because that goes into the next question. How do you deal with the pressures of posting consistently? I know in
yeah,
my
hard.
job, using apps like Later, making sure that the time is correct, making sure that
Mm,
um, the entire feed looks aesthetically pleasing and inviting for people. Um, but also on the other side of that, for my work, it's like I just want to post. I just want to
Yeah, yeah.
post.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can do whatever you want, truly, but it's like it is hard because it's like, oh, the pressures of posting consistently. I mean, I hear that you can just like repost stuff, like repost your old work. Like if people aren't going to remember, like only a
Yeah,
fraction of your followers are even seeing your post in the first place. And if you posted it 6 months ago, 3 months ago, even, they're probably not going to remember it. They're scrolling so fast and seeing so many things. I think, it doesn't really matter. Like if you repost things, like I think a lot of artists do that. Um, so that's one way. But honestly, like I feel like I don't post consistently, like not on Instagram. Not, I mean, I need to do better on Pinterest as well. But yeah,
so
I don't know. I
sometimes
feel
it's
like
about just showing up.
what's that?
Sometimes it's about just showing up and posting, whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether it's a process. You're still just posting, and you're still trying to connect with other people, but it's not necessarily you don't have to create an entire marketing scheme just for posting.
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, I think that I really got caught up in that in the beginning, like when I first went full time in my business. And I think, I don't know, it's hard to say, but I think it was kind of a distraction. And I probably spent too much time trying to like make it on Instagram as an artist because I thought that's what was going to make my business grow and everything. But really, like, I don't even know how many, like, yeah, sure, like people may have liked my art and followed me or whatever, but like, were they a buyer?
Right.
Was this person actually going to license my work? Because those are the people I really want to connect with. And I don't know how often they're scrolling Instagram. Like maybe they are, but maybe they're looking at their friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, I don't know. So like, it's really, I think, more about like the email marketing side. And
Mhm.
um, I've heard this has changed recently too. Like, I mean, I was lucky that I went to a trade show. I went to Blueprint trade show back in 2019, and they gave you the email list of all the buyers who attended the show. And
Oh,
I've heard that they're no longer doing that. And then
oh,
of course 2020 happened, and the shows weren't even happening. They were virtual, but like the virtual shows were hard. I tried a few of those, and it was like if you weren't already working with that person, like not a lot of people signed up to have virtual meetings with you.
hmm.
Um, not a lot of new people, I should say. So yeah, but yeah, the posting consistently. I mean, I don't post consistent. I don't think I post consistently. I try to post more consistently on YouTube because I feel like it's a bigger bang for my buck.
Right.
But yeah,
And that's interesting to note, like diversifying your marketing as well as diversifying your finances. You want to have several fires in.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's artists who have had their Instagram account hacked and like totally deleted, and they had put kind of all their eggs in one marketing basket. And so I've now seen them branch out to a few different platforms, which is hard too. And you get the advice too, well, just concentrate on one because, like, if you get distracted by too many different platforms, it's going to be too hard. What's the right advice? I don't know.
Right.
But
It's finding a balance of that marketing style.
yeah, and I think it's like, which part of the marketing do you hate the least? Like, like do
That's
you
so
really
true.
like, do you really enjoy like making Instagram posts and writing out this little thing for the grid, blah blah blah? I do it like enough to like show if someone clicks over to my profile, they can see my art. And I
Mhm.
should post more, but like I really enjoy my stories, and that's where I'm like posting more. But it's really just like social stuff. It's not even like I'm not really promoting myself that much on
Right.
my stories. But yeah, no, I think Pinterest and YouTube have the best reach because it's SEO friendly, and it doesn't, get old after a day where no one's gonna see it.
As a marketing coordinator, I completely agree with you. I
Good.
completely agree. They have definitely grown for sure. For number 12, do you use art to communicate something to people, to everybody? If so, how?
That's a great question. I think I focused on that a lot more when I was doing more oil painting and fine art. Like I felt like I had to infuse my paintings with like a meaning or like a, a deeper, almost a confrontation. Like there was one painting I did where it was like really dramatic lighting, almost like a Caravaggio, and it was a girl who my sister posed for me. It was a girl like wrapped in the South Carolina flag, and she
Mhm.
had been like beaten up because South Carolina at the time was like the number one state for like abuse of women, and it also had the least number of women in politics.
Oh, wow.
And so that was definitely like a pretty intense message that I wanted to communicate with my art. Since doing commercial art, I don't think I'm having like this deeper meaning. I think it's really just to make people happy, like something that's pretty, that's happy, that they want to see in their house or on, products.
Mhm.
So
I'm
I
glad you said
think,
that.
yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like super intense.
As a fine who went to fine both of us went to fine art school, so
Yeah.
we've always been taught to have this elaborate meaning. And I'm like, I just want to make people happy or smile.
And make yourself happy. Like, it's funny, like
Right.
some of the old fine art I did, I'm like, wow, I was really in a mood without painting.
No,
The
right.
culture of art school, wasn't it? Like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For number 13, what are your favorite tools to get out of an art block?
so lately I've been reading this book called The Artist's Way, and I've posted one video about doing the morning pages, and I'm working on editing another video on the artist's date. And that's been really like transformational. The morning pages, like I think it's transformational for a lot of people. I've always sort of journaled. I've always kind of had a journaling practice. And so for me, it was like, it was good to kind of be reminded of that stream of consciousness type of writing. And P.S., I don't do them in the morning, but I'm kind of a rule breaker. But yeah, I have done the journaling practice, but doing the artist date has really been impactful. And if you're having an art block, like I think getting out of the studio, like I love to like work in my studio and hunker down and get stuff done, right? It's kind of like the being productive mindset, but like going to a life drawing class, going to a museum and sketching. Like it's been beautiful weather here lately. It's starting to get cold now, but I went to like a park and just like, brought my sketchbook and worked there. And like that kind of, um, just taking yourself into a new, like inspiring place that's like relaxing, somewhere maybe you've never been before, or somewhere you've never like sketched before. Like to me, that really helps break art block. And like when I do those art dates, like I don't do, it's not for business. Like that's where I've been doing like a lot of the Facetober stuff. So it is more like play.
Okay. No, I
Hmm.
love that. I love that answer. Getting out of your studio for sure. And also reading The Artist's Way, which I have been told is life changing.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
I'm glad that that's not just lore. I'm glad that actually people really do feel that way, which makes
Yeah.
me feel like I should read my copy because I've had it for years and I never read
I
it.
start I started reading it in 2020 and never finished. I started reading it on my Kindle and then like yeah, I never finished it. So I was like, I'm gonna buy the physical book and like actually finish it. And I did, and it was great. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. For number 14, how do you manage your time day to day? I know it's dictated a lot by the baby and
Yeah. Yeah.
your job for sure. But when you are having a day where you have to make art that day, how do you manage that time? Are you making art in the middle of the night, like I am after my 9 to 5?
Man, I start my full-time job, like I start working at 8 a.m., so I have to get up pretty early. Um, and so I've had to start going to bed earlier, but yeah, it's kind of like that block, like starting at like 8:30, like after I've like gotten my daughter down, I've, eaten dinner, and then it's like, okay, I have like an hour or maybe 2 hours to like get something done. And so that's kind of my block of time where I paint, or edit videos or whatever I need to do that day. It's kind of like that. And then on the weekends, my husband and I have been switching off. And so, like, I don't know how many of you out there have children, but, when you have a 1 year old, it is like a full time job. And so we've been switching off where it's like the mornings on the weekend are he's on duty and like I have a free half day. and then I can do whatever I want. So like that's when I've been doing my artist date lately.
Mhm.
Um, and then I'm on duty in the afternoon and like evening, and like of course we still like, you know, go out to eat as a family and like do stuff together, but that's kind of our general like, all right, you do mornings, I'll do afternoons. And that's how we get a little bit of free time in still and like kind of keep our sanity. But
No,
yeah, when I was sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just agreeing with you.
But when I was full time, working full time as an artist, it was hard because it was like you can kind of do anything with your day. So then, how do you fill it? And like some people may want to do an hour of this and an hour of that, but I kind of worked better like blocking off the whole day. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna make art today, and like that's kind of what I did all day. Or I'm working on this class, and so I'm going to be like working on my PowerPoints. I'm going to film. Like there's going to be one day of filming, and then there's going to maybe like 3 or 4 days of editing. You know, like whatever it is. Um, that I kind of blocked off just day to day. Yeah.
Okay, right on. Um, and for anyone who has pets who are very needy, this is actually a really good tip for you to have people have switch off days with your partner to take care of the pets. I have to do that on the weekends myself. I mean, it's definitely not the same as having children, but somebody does need to take care of the dogs. And I'm just like, boyfriend, go do that while I go into my studio for a few hours. Um,
Yeah, they just want attention all the time. It's really sweet, but
all
you're
the
like, I gotta get stuff done.
time. You actually answered number 15 earlier. And I guess we'll like, get into the portfolio, which I'm scared.
Oh no, don't be scared. Okay, so I'm gonna switch my screen. So let me reshare. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
All right, great. Let's just zoom in a little bit.
I am very nervous about this part.
Oh, no, don't be. Okay, so you're welcome to take over and I'll just kind of flip through.
Okay. Um, this is my portfolio that I sent to Lauren. I put a little bit of extra things in there just to let her get to know where I'm coming from, how my background has been. I have a little table of contents. We'll just go ahead and get straight into the introduction.
Okay.
This portfolio includes an introduction to my business, an in-depth look at my current work. I asked her to contact me if she had any questions or needed anything. And then we'll just scroll all down to the about me. My name is Lindsay Lenise Tucker. I'm a digital marketing coordinator and an aspiring designer. I'm so happy to have this call with you. A little bit about me. I studied at textile design at the University of North Texas in Denton. Since graduating, I have been working flexible jobs so I can assist with the care of my ailing father. I am finally nurturing the passion that I have for design. I look forward to your thoughtful feedback and your guidance. Um, and then with my marketing career, I actually assist other artists with their digital marketing needs. I collaborate with local artists and aim to provide better support for creativity in Texas. I have ambitious plans for my business. And this actually is what eventually I want my business to look like. I have a little mini I do this all the time, brand book, a little mini brand sheet that has a
Yeah.
little bit about my elements and my colors. So with this business, I intend to sell my own artwork, license my pattern designs, start a YouTube channel about my artwork and steps that I'm taking to become a better designer and marketer. Hopefully that's coming in November, but do not hold me to that. Host 2 fundraisers each year called the Happy Show and the Sad Show. For each show, we will hire local bands to sing happy songs and sad songs that are voted on.
I
And
love this idea, by the way. The happy show and the sad show. That's so fun.
thank you. I actually come from a giant group of choir nerds that became
Cool.
friends and stayed friends for almost 20 years. So that's kind of, we kind of
Oh,
came up with that idea together. My partner I actually met in choir in ninth grade. So
oh, cute.
thank you. And then number 5 is create the Bad Brain Kit. This is kind of my personal passion project. It's a website that features local businesses, yoga teachers, art therapy, other artists, and create a space for mental health and conversation. What it will actually do, you can create a bad brain kit anytime you're having a bad day. This kit is kind of everything that you need to pick yourself back up again. And
Okay.
other artists will be donating their time, their energy, videos, art therapy videos. We have a yoga teacher, we have someone who's doing meditation. So that's kind of a passion project for me. And then number 6 is my big goal, which is to build an artist workspace complete with a shop to sell artwork, coffee, and have art studios and a community event space. So that's like my
Yeah,
biggest, like I
that's
want this
amazing. Yeah.
to happen.
And for those of you who, I'll just let you know, like Lindsay was asking about like how do you create or go about doing a grant proposal, and I was like, I really can't answer that question because I've never done it, but like that's what you were probably thinking about with the artist workspace, right? Like with the shop and
Yes.
everything. Yeah, that's really cool. I was back when I lived in South Carolina, I was in a artist co-op, and they actually bought this old huge church and created an art co-op, and like you had to pay for a studio space, but it was like $60 a month, and you had access to like like all these labs, like ceramicist lab. It was like being at a college like art facility. They
That's
had a
my
printmaking
dream.
lab. Yeah, so like after this call I can, I hope it still exists. I can like maybe send you a link or something, and maybe you
Yes,
can talk to the guy about how he went about it.
that would be wonderful.
Mhm.
A little, the reason why I want to do this is because Texas does have a thriving art scene and they're not being taken care of.
Mm.
We just lost one of our staple art supply stores. They closed down all of their
Oh,
spaces.
oh gosh.
We just got one new art supply store, but it's all the way in Dallas, and UNT has a huge art program. So the students are getting the supplies that they need. We need a Blick in Texas. We need so many things for our artists to thrive. And honestly,
Wow.
this is
Y'all
something
don't
that
have
is,
Blick? Oh
we don't have Blick. It is
my
rude. I
god.
find it to be rude.
That is rude. That's very rude. Oh my goodness. Okay, I
Um,
gotcha. So there's
yeah.
definitely a
So
need, like a white space.
there is a need, absolutely, especially in North
Mm.
Texas, especially with UNT that's right up the street. That has a huge art program, and we
Mhm.
also house the Texas Fashion Collection, which is the Neiman Marcus Texas Fashion Collection that was given to UNT. It's one of the bigger fashion collections in the country.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so I guess we'll get into the illustrations of my actual portfolio.
I love the way you like designed this whole like PowerPoint too, by the way. Like this is
Oh,
so
thank
cool.
you.
Yeah.
This is
Is
my
this all
special.
your artwork?
This is all me.
Nice.
Um, we'll go straight into illustrations. These are
Okay.
some of my illustrations. I think I made all of these for Inktober. I'm definitely green to art. It took me a really, really, really long time not to be scared to make work and be scared to post work. So it took me all the way up until Inktober when I just made a decision that I was going to do it. So all of these are from Inktober, but they're some of the best work that I've done thus far, especially on Procreate.
Okay. Do you want to like kind of explain? I know that for Inktober, but like what maybe some of the prompts were for maybe someone who isn't sure or.
Oh, absolutely. The first one is sprig. So I drew a little sprig of blueberries. Um,
Hmm.
the next one is for dream. So I did some clouds. And if you've ever seen the show Hilda, you know that is a wharf. That's a little joke, inside joke between me and my boyfriend. The next one is for chomp. And this one was kind of out of left field. I wanted to do something very, very different. So I drew this guy with a big mustache and his mouth open. And then that last one is pond. So I drew a flamingo sitting in a pond.
Okay, cool. And okay, so this is for the Inktober challenge. Are you like planning on trying to like sell these and or like license them or like how are you thinking?
So I think the way I'm structuring my business right now is for November and December. Actually, tomorrow is when I start my Etsy shop. So I will be
Okay.
selling. I will be selling like personal posters like these, and then some posters that will go over at the end.
Okay.
But these aren't going to be licensed. What's going to be licensed, hopefully, will be next in digital pattern design.
Okay.
Um, and these are all of my digital patterns. Two of them for Inktober, but the rest of them actually pulled straight from my sketchbook and digitized them.
Cool.
So all of these are ready to be produced and ready to go. My favorite one happens to be the little witch's one with the hands and the wand.
That is
Um,
really cute.
and the witch one
um
and the reef one are my two like stepping out of my comfort zone, actually end up drawing real things as opposed to just shapes. So
mhm.
those are very important to me.
Yeah, I love that. I think okay, a couple of do you want me to give you like a little bit of tips or like feedback
Yes,
here?
please. I need them
Okay.
all.
Okay. So I think you could maybe tighten up the color palette and have like colors repeating. Like it looks like this might be a slightly different purple than this purple. This green's a little different than this green. So like trying to pick like one green that's going across your patterns, one purple, and kind of maybe if you're having like a lighter background on, let's see, one, two, three, four. Maybe you have like a darker background on a couple, which it seems like you're doing that here, but maybe making the darkest color the background and see how that looks. Um, and then I think here as well, it's like you're using a lot of line work for the hands and for the fish, but we're not really seeing a lot of line in the other pieces. And so it's not necessarily that you have to add them, but it's more that I see these two being really cohesive with each other in the style. And it
Mhm.
feels like these could sit well together in a collection. And like this purple is kind of matching this like lavender color as well, this purple. Um, I'm not seeing this aqua carrying over, but like these two feel like the same style to me, where some of these other ones feel like stylistically like a little different.
I'm still trying to find my style as an
Yeah,
artist,
yeah,
for
totally understand.
sure.
Yeah,
Right now, I'm working on skill and trying to find my style.
yeah.
But no, those are great tips for sure. I will take them. I will definitely take them into consideration. Um, and then I tried to kind of tailor the color palette a little bit with my traditional pattern design. So
Mhm.
that's going to be the next slide, and those are all hand done.
I want to tell you my favorite one too. Do you want to know my favorite?
Oh yes.
This one's actually my favorite. Like I love like I think this is really fun, but I think like commercially, like this is really something that I could see like being used. It kind of looks like a terrazzo pattern.
Oh
Um,
okay.
and that's
Yeah.
been like a fun trend. Like it's kind of like a little bit of an older trend, but sometimes these trends last a long time. So like this one is probably my favorite, and I love the lime and purple together. Like I feel like that's very on trend as well. So like this is probably your strongest piece in my opinion for this group.
No, that's good to know. You actually picked a completely different piece than what my friends and family have picked. But
Oh, how funny. Okay.
I mean, that's all my only connection to like, how is this? Sometimes they're like, ooh, pretty, and I'm not getting as much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move down to traditional.
So all of these are hand done, and I tried to put them in like kind of a quadrant situation.
Hmm.
So we have kind of the warmer colors and then the cooler colors.
Okay. Okay, so for traditional, you mean like hand painted. That's what you mean by traditional.
Mhm.
Okay, because when I first looked at it, I was thinking, well, these don't look very traditional. Like I was thinking of like a traditional customer. Like in my job, that's how we like think about, like um, is it like a boho customer or a traditional customer or like
Okay.
a modern customer? So yeah, I was like, these are kind of modern, but I see what you're saying. So these were all hand painted.
Mhm.
Were you using like different types of paints or like different
Um,
materials?
I mainly use gouache. I mainly use gouache and watercolor, but I've been really into wax crayons and sticks and watercolor crayons. So some of them have a little bit of watercolor crayon throughout it,
Hmm.
like the Starburst one, and then the purple one at the top right. That one has a lot of watercolor crayon on top.
Okay. Yeah. So I think again here, kind of the same comment of like stylistically tightening up a bit. Um, like this one, you're outlining your
Hmm.
design, but you're not really doing that with the other pieces, which I'm not saying you have to outline everything. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to do it in one place, maybe try to do it in some other places, or maybe don't outline, or maybe just use it like very sparingly. Um, and then this piece to me feels more watercolory, whereas like this, yeah, this feels more like a different texture. And so
Hmm.
I know you're like still trying to figure out your style and you're playing with it, but maybe just as you're doing more work, trying to figure out and narrow down like, okay, what are the materials I really like to use? Like, do I want to do Procreate? Do I want to do more hand painted stuff? And it takes a while. Like it takes making a lot of work to really figure out what is the process that I love and like what is the end result that I'm liking the best. And that's
Hmm.
kind of like what like I said, in the beginning of my career, I was using Illustrator and Photoshop to design everything. And like if you scroll down my Instagram, like you will see like vector character design actually, like at the very beginning. So it's totally different than like what I'm doing now. But after making a lot of work for my own business, I really was like, well, there was something about me being a fine art major in school. Like I do really love getting away from a screen and like I'm on a screen all day, as much as I do love Procreate and I really struggled, like, do I do Procreate or do I do hand painted? I definitely
Right.
like teetered with that a lot. Um, and I like doing Procreate for sketching now because it's so easy to like hit undo or like, move something around, if I'm doing a drawing. But I think kind of going back to your root, like what do you enjoy the most? Like what's the process you really enjoy? Because that's going to be what really motivates you and sustains you, like as you create a lot more work.
I think that when I started doing Procreate for Inktober, because I really wanted to learn and kind of hone those skills,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I started missing that traditional part. So I really wanted
Hmm.
to include something that's a little bit different, but something that kind of goes back to my roots, which is painting and drawing. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's why I wanted to include those, and also I want to eventually have kind of a balance of digital and traditional work for digital
Hmm.
illustration or digital pattern design or traditional illustration.
And there are artists who I think use both, work both ways, but you can't tell. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's like getting the skill level up to that point where you're like, okay, my Procreate stuff is gonna look hand painted,
right.
or like trying to like match that a little bit so that you could really work either way. Like if you need to crank something out fast, maybe you use Procreate, but it's in the same style of like your gouache paintings.
And I think in
So
your style class, you mentioned do 25 pieces,
yeah,
then do them again. So
yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
those are kind of my 25 pieces of like, okay, where can I go from here? And how do I tighten up from here?
Hmm. For sure. Yeah, I think that's the goal, and like keeping that tight color palette. Yeah. And just like, if you're using one technique like outline, trying to do that in another piece. And I think this is another just another tip is that you have the white background in like all of these pieces.
Yes.
And like individually it looks good, but like when you're trying to create a collection, you want to have like maybe I have this purple because it's in the motif here, and then I want to use that purple in the background of a different piece.
Okay.
And so trying to think like how it's going to relate to each other, especially if you want to design for fabric
Okay.
where it can like, work as a collection and just visually it looks good together and makes all
Okay.
your work look cohesive. Yeah.
Wonderful. Um, Poster art. I did the first two for Inktober. Um, no, that's not true. I did two for Inktober. The first two I did for Inktober, and then the last one was a quote that I from Dodie Clark, who is a singer on YouTube. And it says "Spaced out panic brain." Like you're
Love
slurping,
it.
like it's like your drink, your spaced out panic brain drink. So I didn't realize I liked poster art until I did these, and I'm like, "Ooh, I really like this. This is really."
Yeah,
So I definitely wanted to include it.
cool. Yeah, I think, I mean, I think trying to do all these things, it's like trying, I mean, I'm the worst at this. Like I was trying to do a YouTube channel, like teach on, teach classes and license my work and do all these other things. But I think trying to do everything all at once might be hard, but yeah, and again, I think matching, like if you're doing hand painted stuff with your patterns, maybe you try that also in the poster art. Or if you prefer doing like Procreate and doing like more of a graphic look, maybe you try to replicate that in your patterns. Just so that, your portfolio does look cohesive. Again, not everything you do has to be like in the exact same style, but what you want to put out commercially needs to feel cohesive. I think your compositions here are really cool. And again, I do love like the colors that you're using, but if you could like repeat the colors with work that you're showing beside each other, that's
Mhm.
a good way for it to just feel more cohesive. I love these checks. Like that's definitely like super trendy. We're doing all kinds of checks and different grid stuff and textile design as well. Um, One thing I think you could maybe work on is the hand lettering, and this is coming from someone who cannot hand letter. So like, trust me,
This
I'm terrible at hand lettering, but
this was the first time I tried hand lettering on
yeah,
anything, and I
yeah,
just started taking classes on hand lettering.
cool.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully those will get better. Hopefully soon.
definitely. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's definitely something that's been in the back burner too. Like I need to take a course on this. But yeah, that's something that I think could improve. But yeah, I think these concepts are really cool. I love the big hard. Like this is cool. Like I really like the way you've drawn this lettering and
Mhm.
like down here. I think it's more is this like one stroke
I
when
think it's
you
like
wrote it?
two strokes to make it a little
Two strokes.
thicker. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I like how, but you probably like drew the edges of this and then filled it in. Is that what
Yeah.
you did here? Yeah, that looks really
Actually, I
good.
think I drew it and then erased.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this part, I really like this part
Well, thank
of the
you.
lettering. Yeah.
And then the second to last slide is just my current pain points. I'm still developing my
Yes.
style. Still definitely
Which will
developing
always be the case. Yeah, I'm still developing my style too. Never stopped.
never stop. And then my second one is just I don't have experience in selling and licensing or selling my product, and that'll be
Hmm.
kind of my first test with Etsy. Some of these posters my friends have asked me to make for them, so I'm just
Cool.
throwing them up on Etsy for November and December for Christmas.
Yeah.
See if I get any bites, and then my last one is another current pain point is funding for my studio space, and I think that pretty much all of my extra money that I would be making with artwork is going to developing that space. That is
Mm.
definitely my number one end goal
The
before
space idea sounds really cool. I mean, yeah, like having a space, like especially if you don't even have an art supply store, that's wild.
we just got a Jerry's,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
it's one Jerry's and it's not central.
Hmm.
So
That is wild. Okay.
yeah, Texas does not take care of their artists like I want them to be taken care of.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we need that. And
we
just to
need
have a
that.
space to go to is, yeah, sounds really fun. Would you want it to be like a co-op where artists like have a studio and like could work out of there, or is it more of
Yes.
just like hang out? Okay, cool.
I want it to be a co-op. I want to have designated studio spaces and a large workshop to where you can do anything from ceramics in one corner to woodworking and building your frames. I want artists to feel supported and feel like they have a place to create and make when they don't necessarily have to buy every single tool themselves. There is a space created for you. We do have the Dallas Maker Space, but it
Mhm.
is definitely it's very expensive.
Okay.
And it's also just one space in Dallas. I would love something a little bit more central because Denton, Dallas, and Fort Worth are in a triangle. So if we had something kind of in the middle would be ideal.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I gotcha. Well, that sounds really fun. I wish I like lived near you and I could like be part of the co-op. That would be really cool.
I'll keep you posted if anything fun happens.
Thanks. Yeah, I think yeah, that sounds really, really cool. It sounds like um it is kind of like one thing at a time though. Like if you're able to
Oh,
do this space, like I yeah, you might not have time to like work on your own work for a little while because seems like it would take a lot.
this is
Do
definitely a
you
long-term plan.
yeah, I gotcha. Um for Etsy, I know you like talked about throwing your stuff up on Etsy. Have you done marketing for other artists on Etsy or like how have you gone
I
about that?
have I have done marketing for other artists, and then I have another friend who does this as well. So we're talking tomorrow actually about how am I going to go about it. I'm good at marketing other people. I'm not very good at marketing myself because I know all of the avenues. It's like I can do this and this and this and this. So sometimes I have to ask one of my friends to be like, okay, let's sit down and create a plan.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay, well, for anyone who's watching, if you want to ask any kind of questions, like now's the opportunity. We have Katie commenting, this is going to be great, and share your art even if you aren't ready. Don't overthink it. So that's a really great advice too from
That is
Katie.
really
We're like, that's like the great thing about Instagram is like I met people like you and her like we're like Instagram friends even though we've never met in real life. But so that's I shouldn't complain about Instagram too much because it is a great place to connect with other artists. But yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to like touch on or talk about?
um, I think that's it. I've gotten so much information, and thank you so much for reviewing my portfolio and sharing your thoughts about it. Um, these are things that I am actively working on. So having somebody that's been in the business for so long, kind of telling me kind of where I am in my process of creating my style, really does help.
Oh, I'm
Um,
so glad.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. I saw
Oh,
this
of
on your
course.
email and I was just like, I have to do it immediately.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, I'm so glad we got to meet and like hopefully we'll be able to stay in touch and yeah.
Yes. Um, one moment, my phone dropped, and that is recording our audio. I guess the only thing I have left to say is that you can find me at Lindsay Lanice Designs on Instagram, and on YouTube, I am Lindsay Lanice.
Have you started your YouTube?
I just started filming. Tomorrow, when I was talking to my friend who's doing Etsy. She's also starting YouTube as well. So we have a little editing date going on. I'm hoping to start in November.
Awesome. Okay, I'll be looking out for that.
See my crazy, chaotic, good life.
Are you doing like a vlog or?
It's all about how I'm getting from A to B in terms of where I am in my art journey, how I'm getting better, if I'm getting better. I may not get better. I may.
You will. Of course you will. Everyone's always good. If you try, you'll get better. Like that's the thing is like with art is just a skill, like people talk
Yes.
about being born with talent and like that's not the case. Like if you work on it, like of course you'll get better.
I hope I do get better. And then, yeah, it's all about kind of upgrading my life. We've gone through a lot of things, and I am very thankful that I kind of ended up in a blank slate. We moved
Mm.
to a different city. I'm starting a completely new job, and they know about YouTube. My boss actually texted me before this. He was like, "Break a leg," so they
Aw, that's
know about
sweet.
it. So it's all about kind of creating the life that you want.
Yeah.
Um, and you'll see me flop around on the internet. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited. That's great.
Lauren,
Okay,
thank
well,
you
it's
so
so
much.
nice to meet you, Lindsay.
So nice to meet you too.
Okay, well,
I'll send you that audio,
yes.
and I hope to speak with you soon.
Yes, sounds great. Bye, everybody.
Bye.